Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I do have to start off with a gag gift, I guess, for Scott here. So, have either of you guys seen Parks and Rec before? You ever watched that show?
No, I've seen clips and stuff of it, but I have never.
Scott, have you ever watched Parks and Rec? Yeah, you have? Okay, cool. So, I love Parks and Rec. I think it's such a funny show. Definitely recommend it. We can go down some rabbit holes. But Tom is one of the characters on Parks and Rec, and there's this one episode where he has his list of no-nos.
No-nos?
Yeah. So, in order to make myself get to Joe Rogan's level, we had, Scott has a list now of no-nos.
Right.
So they're going to be Scott's no-nos. So in order to keep myself to this standard, I've brought something that we're going to have to leave on the table because it's the last episode.
So this is officially a prop now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. I'm off to a really bad start already.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is I can't tell the viewers what's on the list of no-nos because then they'll know to look for them, and I don't want that. Okay, so we can't tell them, but we'll know what it is.
Okay.
And anytime I commit one of the no-nos,
I'm
going to have to put $1 in the jar.
Oh, it's already full.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just, had to
stock it.
Yeah. It was really weird. I went into Publix today and I had them break this like $20 bill, and I was like, can I just get singles? And the woman's like, sure. And I was like, well, I'm not going to a strip club, like, obviously. So
I have a story about that.
Yeah, right. So here's the oh no jar to keep me honest. And so that,
but we don't know what the oh no-nos are.
Well, I can tell you later, but I'll tell you after you watch the first episode.
Okay.
Because I want to see if you pick up on it.
I think I already know what one is.
You do, I'm sure. So that's the oh no-nos, and it's to make me, Scott's done such a great job with editing everything and being such a great producer, so I have to be a good host.
He's already identified some oh no-nos.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, right. So in order to get myself better, what better way than lose cash, which I have very limited amounts of.
Don't we all?
Right. So this is the way that I'm going to kind of push myself to stay honest. And I figure, now we'll have a nice little fund for studio upgrades. So,
Definitely.
We talked about some signage we want to get going, and that curtain was ridiculously expensive. So, those little things. So sorry that I went off on this tangent, but I was pretty pumped about this I was really mad at myself when I kept committing the certain oh no. So now,
well, that happens when you watch yourself on any kind of video.
Oh my God, I'm so bad at watching myself on camera.
You have to, because that's how you get better.
Right. Oh, that's the thing, is that I have to sit there and watch. Like when Erica filmed me talking at the Forever Bridal after show, I couldn't watch it. It was 30 seconds or less, and I couldn't watch it because I was just like, oh man, this is terrible. Like, I can't. But I've forced myself to. But the podcast, the last episode, turned out so great, so I'm excited about it. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. I kind of took up way too much time. Welcome.
Thank you.
So why don't Laura here with Forever Bridal. She has been putting on this show with Dom for 25 years now.
Yep.
They're a staple in Raleigh. Not only Raleigh, but then really nationally. I mean, I
hope so.
No, you certainly are. I mean, when I've talked to these show promoters across the country, I mean, you can just see the respect and how much they truly do value you and Dom, and you are a staple in that community and in ours. I mean, the vendors here respect you guys so much, and I think that speaks a lot to what you guys have created over the past 25 years. So
well, I mean, we've definitely put blood, sweat, and tears and everything into it, so we're not going anywhere. I'm born and raised here, so I'm not going anywhere.
That's rare. There's not a lot of people born and raised in Raleigh anymore, myself being one of them. So so we're glad to have you.
Thanks.
I think that we'll have a lot to chat about, but I think kick it off with the wedding shows, right? I think that's obviously top of mind for you. I'm sure there are a lot of events that y'all were planning on putting on, a couple that I was super hyped about that aren't going to happen now because of COVID. So, I mean, what are you guys seeing in the show promoters' perspective? I mean, how are y'all handling everything with COVID?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been having some weekly calls with show promoters across the country and Canada, across the US and Canada, and it's, you know, we're trying to be super positive, but it's not a lot of positivity. It's a lot of doom and gloom. Every state has different mandates and different restrictions, and we just realize as producers of large scale events that have hundreds and thousands of people that come through the doors, the likelihood of that happening is not looking really good. We hope that we'll be able to do our August show here in Raleigh at the fairgrounds, but I think the hardest part of all of it is just trying to plan and work in limbo, because you can't, when you don't have any concrete answers, you can't make any concrete plans. So what we think about today may not work for tomorrow. And some of the producers in other states, their convention centers have shut down for the year for 2020. I know that happened in Colorado. So the producer out there was like, well, at least I know. And at least I can work towards our January show. And January is the biggest show in the country for bridal show producers, because Christmas and New Year's is the largest engagement. It's what we call engagement season. It's when most of the engagements happen. So at least she can plan towards January now. So at least she's not in limbo. But it's just so hard.
And I know a lot of couples are facing that same problem, obviously on a different level, because it's not that they don't have a show to put on, but they don't know when their date's going to be. So if you don't have your date, I mean, you can't do anything. You can't book anything.
Yeah. And I think the scary part is when this happened in March, everybody rushed to postpone to late summer and fall. And now it's kind of like, what is that going to look like?
Yeah, that's crazy, because you never thought it would get to this scale.
No.
Which we even talked about this on the last show, about how we've had diseases come out before, and usually you hear about them heavily in the news for a couple months and then they just go away. And I know that that's a big part of the problems with vaccines, is that it takes so long to actually develop a vaccine that by the time they get it, or by the time they get close, there's already something else out, and now the focus has already been taken away. Like they relate this back to SARS a lot, and how they're similar. And I've heard just through, watching the news and stuff, if they had just kept on that SARS vaccine route and not pivoted to something else, then we could potentially have a cure for this, or at least something close. But because it's so long and such a tedious process, we never get there.
Yeah.
So,
but then there's, can you make people get vaccines?
Well, no, there's some people that, that's a...
Yeah, I don't want to open a Pandora's box, but, there's that.
Yo, I mean, there are people that are not vaccinating their children when...
Right.
And...
Well, I grew up when, if somebody in my neighborhood got chicken pox, then my mom, we all went to that house and we all played together so we could all get it. That's probably considered child abuse today. But that was the time that I grew up. But, it's just so weird. Everything is just so weird. This happening all over the world. I said to my son a couple of days ago, because he's graduating. So that's a whole nother thing happening. Yeah. He's graduating high school. I was like, we're making history. Everything we do right now. Yep. We're making history.
And that's the other sad thing too, is I think about all the students. I know your son's about to graduate, and that's such a huge life event. And not to bring up sore subjects, but like I can't even.
No, I'm way more devastated than he is.
Probably. I mean, being the mom of a teenage boy, most teenage guys could care less.
No, he's like, I never have to see those people again.
Right.
I never have to go to that school again.
Right. And he says that now. But then looking back, it'll be, I'm sure, not the same. But
yeah, we're trying not to focus on that. But
yeah,
it's still super.
What are they saying for kids? Like, are they going to do virtual graduations?
I think that's the trend. Really? Yeah. Yeah.
That just seems like...
Which is that just opens up something else. You got parents who are like, no, we want this. And I know the administrators are doing the best they can.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're kind of we're getting impatient and frustrated in our society, but we have to remember that I truly think at the core, we're all trying to do the best we can. That, that's, I don't know if it's a quote by somebody who said it, but I'm going to give my mom credit for it. She used to say it to me all the time. Laura, you make the best decision you can at the time with the information you have, and you pray to God it's the right one. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
So I know that all of these decisions are tough, whether we're going to have a show in August or try to do something different that's virtual or these graduations and everything. We have to trust that the people who are in charge are really trying to make the best decision that they can.
Yeah, and I think that's really great advice because it's in just backtracking to our industry a little bit, with all the rebookings that are happening, I see so much stuff online from either vendors getting frustrated with the couples because they're really, it's on both sides, just they're on the other end of it, being frustrated about cancellation policies and refunds and what do you do, and you want to be empathetic towards the couples because they're going through this rebooking process, and like, okay, if I can move, let's say positively 70% of my vendors, there's still going to be a couple that already have something booked that date. And then the vendor, it's like, well, if you cancel on me, I'm already losing all this revenue from the last couple months. Now we're canceling and we have a contract. So it's hard because it's money on the line, and it's a lot of money for people to be spending and losing if they're not booking the vendor. But
when we talked about this the other day, just specifically, a lot of these vendors already had events on the books for late summer and fall. And now all their spring weddings have to be, and summer, and who knows what the future holds. But all of those have to be rescheduled, and they're trying to get them in this year, in 2020. So they already have weddings on the books for the end of 2020, and they're trying to squeeze all these, reschedules in. So they just doubled their business in terms of production value and staffing and so forth. Not revenue, obviously, but they're just doubling what they already had. That's why we're seeing Thursday night weddings and Friday night weddings, because there's just not enough weekends in the year. If all those Saturdays in October, September and October are huge months here in North Carolina. So most of those vendors were already booked on all those weekends. And now you've got these couples that need to be rebooked, and everyone's trying their best to do that. But yeah, it's complicated.
And that's not even taking into consideration all the people who are now getting engaged.
Correct.
Because they're going to be looking at next year and those spring dates, and now the people that are trying to push back to those dates, especially if they're in, let's say, September, and they wanted to just go back a couple months, and now they're in the spring, but I just got engaged and I want a spring wedding. It's just inconvenient for everybody.
It is. I think it's going to create a huge surge in weddings in 2021, which I think is a good thing. I think it'll be good for the the local industries and the vendors and the market and in general, but it's definitely making it complicated.
Right. What about, do you think that this has brought the importance of getting wedding insurance? I mean, it's not something that I think many people thought about before, but I'm sure that everybody who doesn't have it wishes that they did now. Do you see that as something that most brides are getting today, or is it something that you would recommend?
I would definitely recommend wedding insurance. I don't know what the current climate is right now, but I can pretty much promise you it's going to be impossible to get insurance that's going to cover anything COVID related. Yeah. You're going to get a lot of pushback from any insurance company with regard to that. Just like it was with 9/11, those are extra riders, terrorism and things like that are extra riders that you have to get. And I'm sure we'll see that with this pandemic going on. But a lot of wedding venues already require some type of liability insurance, just to protect their facility, especially when there's alcohol involved. So that's kind of becoming the norm anyway. And there's a lot of other reasons to have wedding insurance. You never know what's going to happen, especially in our area. And that's what you have to pay attention to, is your geographical area. So being in the Southeast, we could have a hurricane. So that's the biggest weather related situation that we have. So there's definitely things to consider, but you need to look at the riders that you can attach to your policy, what's excluded. Oftentimes is more important than what's included.
Right.
So if you're using or you're going to utilize wedding insurance, which I highly recommend, we did that for my daughter's wedding. It was not expensive in the big picture compared to what everything else totaled out to be. Do your research and know what you're getting insurance for, because just because you buy a policy, it doesn't mean everything's going to be covered.
Yeah, and I think you think about how much the average wedding is, right? If we say it's $30,000, what else are you spending $30,000 on that you're not getting insurance for?
Right. Nothing.
Right.
My dad used to always say insurance of any kind was purchasing peace of mind.
Right. And you're already so stressed out. So to just take one little thing off your plate, I think is worth it.
Absolutely.
We were going through that the other day, and just talking about, if there's one thing that can just take a little bit off your plate, to do that. And it was more talking about the importance of like wedding planning and stuff like that, but I think that's pretty relatable. We have some nice images here that might look familiar to you.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, Forever Bridal.
Oh, I so want that back again.
Right. So we have the fashion show that's at the bridal show that y'all put on every year, which is such a fun event. Let's pivot.
Let's
Let's
do
go
that.
Upbeat a little bit. Let's look forward to thinking optimistically. Everything's great. We're going to have this August show.
Yeah.
We're going to do the bridal crawl. And that's what I was super disappointed about getting canceled, but staying optimistic.
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's talk about it. I mean, wedding shows. What are the positives and what is important about attending a wedding show?
That is a loaded question.
Yes.
And so, with the internet and everything that the internet embraces and brings us was kind of making it challenging to stay in a business that was an in-person event, because the internet offers you the ability to sit at home and sit behind your keyboard and Google whatever you wanted to Google. And so we were having to constantly think of ways to appeal to our audience, our young audience, which is people getting married who are millennials and what's our next generation?
Z, maybe?
I don't know. I should know that. I think it's
Z.
anyway, so
we're gonna say it's Z. If not, then
yeah. So whatever.
Whatever.
So I keep getting older, but couples getting married don't. They stay in this age bracket. Okay. Right. So we're always trying to think of ways to appeal to them to get out from behind the keyboard, because they're very into their technology and their phone is like an extension of themselves. They don't go anywhere without it. So we're always trying to think, it's face to face. You need to meet your people. And now we're in this crazy situation where everyone is stuck inside. We're Zooming all the time. I hope I never have to do that again. And I'm really crossing my fingers and, praying to all the bridal show gods that everyone's going to want to get out of the house and come to a show and meet people face to face and taste the cake and taste the food and hear the DJ play the music that you're going to be dancing to on your dance floor. And I feel more than ever, I don't know, maybe I'm just so passionate about it, but I feel more than ever that is what we need to get back to, is that face-to-face communication and being able to meet those people and make those connections. Because that's what your wedding is. It's such an emotional, personal connection. Yeah,
and that's so accurate. Like, it's such an accurate way to describe the show. I mean, January's show was the first wedding show that I've ever been to, and we obviously participated with Bride Genie as a vendor, so it was a little bit different, but I still made sure that I went around, looked at all the booths, participated like I was a bride, and it was fun. I mean, there's booths with champagne, there's booths with cake. I mean, not that I'm food motivated, but I am. And then just to meet the people, and again, you're spending so much on this event, you want to make sure that you connect with them on a personal level.
Yes.
Because imagine the DJ, you hire him or her, and you have no personality traits that are similar whatsoever. It's like, well, how are they going to vibe with the music and the theme that I'm trying to put on for my guests? I mean, you can't. So, and just walking around and seeing, I mean, oh my God, the first day we're there setting up, I was put to shame. The vendors go all out. There are legitimate chandeliers hanging right behind me in this booth, and I'm just like, well, shit. Like, ours looks real bad. But, they put their heart and soul into it, and I think it shows how passionate they are. I mean, the fact that they're giving up their weekend that they could be making money to be at the show and talk to new brides and educate them on what they do and why they're different.
Yeah, I mean, they're bringing their business to life.
Yeah.
In the show, their booth is more than a booth. It's this elaborate extension of their business. I mean, yeah, you can see Camellia chilling right there. I think that's Anfisa's Jewelers right there.
And that's Bride Genie's not good booth.
Well, it's an app.
It's a great app.
It is a great app. So there's just we want to bring it to life. There's no place where a bride can go and meet all of these people in one place in one weekend. When I planned my wedding a lot of years ago, I had the phone book, and there's people that don't even know what that is. But you have to make appointments. You have to go to their place of business. You have to meet them and talk to them. I mean, how exciting would it be to walk?
That booth on the left.
I know, right?
Sorry,
it's like a barn erected right there.
Oh no, I was talking about that one right there.
Oh yeah. Oh, that one.
That's ours. But right behind it.
Yeah,
Keep going, Scott.
And I think.
To the left.
I want to say kids, but I can't say that.
Look at this guy has for chandelier venue plug.
Yeah.
They have chandeliers and food in their booth. I was like, y'all are crushing.
Who wouldn't want to experience that?
No, I know. It's amazing.
Taste food, eat cake, watch a fashion show, get free stuff.
It's amazing.
Definitely.
But continue. I'm sorry I cut you off because
it's just what it is. I'm super, super passionate about what I do, and I want to. I'm just that connector. I'm not one of these vendors. I don't provide anything fancy. I just provide the environment for brides to come and meet the people. So I'm the middleman. I'm the matchmaker.
There you go. That's a really good point, though. I feel like as a vendor, I went into that and I was overwhelmed. I mean, you see some of these girls come in, and especially the ones that are early on in the process, and they walk in the door, they're just like, oh my God. Like, what
deer in headlights.
Yeah. So how do they navigate through that?
We try to educate as much as we can prior to the show and let the girls know what to expect. We tell girls to try to have a plan. Where are they in the planning process? Are they looking for everything? Are they trying to find a DJ or a cake baker? We try to get them to come onto our website, because we do put the list of exhibitors and the floor plan up on the site prior to the event. So we try to get them to look at that and get a lay of the land and try to figure out if they're looking for anyone specific, where they might be on the floor plan. But generally speaking, we just want girls to have a good time. We want it to be an experience. You only get married one time, and you only get one chance to do all this fun planning, and so it's like a girls' day out. Even if you've already picked your wedding dress and your attire, sit down, check out the fashion show, have a mimosa, just have a good time, make a day of it. That's really what we want.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point, because they're all, I caught myself mid-word, but they're not all of them, but majority are there with their squad of bridesmaids and their mom, and it's a whole day event. It's an experience. So it's sad that it can't happen now. I definitely think that, especially with us having to stay at home, they'll hopefully come back twice as hard, because
that's my mantra, right? And I'm sticking by it.
Right, because I mean, this is the most out I get to go is to the studio.
Me too.
It's like, so I think that it'll come back, but with it being a gathering of so many people, it's just that win.
Yeah.
And I know you don't have an answer, but
Yeah, I wish I did. I mean, I want to think, okay, so here's my thought process. We hold our show at the fairgrounds, and they have, I don't know, 8-10 buildings there where they have different size shows in and different producers. We are kind of on a rotation. Like, I know when the boat show is and the garden show and the Dixie Gun Classic and all that stuff. But the fair is coming up in October, the state fair, which is a staple in North Carolina.
Yep.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and, say that that's a lot of revenue for the state of North Carolina. So
that's a really good point.
that could open up a whole conversation right there. But our show's in August, the fair's in October, so it is a couple of months later. But, you can just kind of go
Speculate.
down. Yeah. What I'm thinking.
Right. I mean, and it makes sense, but that's even more people. And you've obviously been to the fair. For anybody who hasn't been to the North Carolina,
It's like
State Fair,
10 days long.
It's 10 days long. And especially when you're walking through the food aisle, I have not been able to find this last couple of years. I'm just thinking about food now because I'm getting hungry, but they have these fried Girl Scout cookies one year and I died. I ate so many of them and I couldn't find them ever again after that. And every year I go and search for them, but I can never find them. But anyway, that's just my little 2 cents.
Mine's
bring them back.
the corn on the cob on the stick. They
That's
dip
good.
it in the butter. Oh my God. It's like roasted corn on a grill, and they kind of shuck it and pull the whatever it's called back, and they stick it in this humongous thing of melted butter, and you just pour salt over it.
I mean, it sounds good, but then I hear fried Girl Scout cookies and I'm just like, oh, but I only found them one year. Any year after that, I can never find, I've had fried Oreos, but the fried Thin Mints were so good and I can never find them. So if anybody wants to bring those back, I'll be your number one customer. But you get to the food section, the point of this rant is that everybody's packed in sardines, basically.
Well, just the fair in general.
Well, yeah.
You're on the rides, you're standing in line, you're playing games. So I'm really pushing and hoping that our state's going to say, you know what, that fair is coming. We need to open up.
And football season's right around the corner. If I don't get to go to a Saints game this year, I might cry. Now I'm going to get emotional.
Never been to New Orleans.
Really?
Never. It's one of the places I want to go. It's not on my bucket list, but it's definitely a place I want to go.
What's your football team? Panthers, I'm assuming?
I could care less about pro football.
Really?
Yeah.
You're all college?
All the
ECU?
way. ECU.
Well, yeah. Well, who's your team?
I mean, I do bleed purple, I will say. Pirate Nation all the way.
Is that why Forever Bridal is purple?
Part of the reason, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Part of it, and purple's kind of a royal color. I think people associate purple with royalty, like in England, the king and queen and all that stuff. So, and it's a very gender neutral, because a lot of people think bride is pink or girls are pink and boys are blue, and we certainly didn't want to go down that road. So purple is
I like it.
our color.
I like purple.
But my team is Clemson, by the way.
Oh, God. I won't even go down that rabbit hole, but I'm trying to go to some Saints games this year, so
I'll hop on that bandwagon with you.
Yeah.
I don't have any allegiance to any kind of pro football team.
Well, if I can't go down another tangent, I feel really bad because I feel like this is not wedding related at all, this whole conversation, but that's okay. The Saints have the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Yes.
And then very recently, Mercedes decided to sponsor Atlanta.
Oh, yes. We talked about this.
Yeah. Not cool, Mercedes. You can't go sponsor our rival team. That's not all right.
Cool.
Not cool. So when I buy the Saints someday, we're going to change it to the Bride Genie Superdome.
Done.
And our logo's already circular, so I'm just going to pull off some parts of the Mercedes-Benz dome. Peace out, Mercedes. Bride Genie's in. So that's what's going to happen. Yeah. I just got to get a cool $2 million to buy it. Or billion, excuse me.
You can do it.
I wish it was million, but
you can do it.
Bride Genie.
Yep. If anybody can do it, Cortney can do it.
Well, hopefully. But yeah, so that's my tangent. Anyway, so we'll digress a little bit here on and go back to the wedding industry. But Scott pulled up something that I was so excited about this year.
Yes.
It's going to probably send us down another rabbit hole, but the bridal bar crawl.
Yeah.
Please tell me where we're scheduling.
Okay, so the plan was it was going to be in spring because last year we did it in September and it was hot.
Ooh, yeah.
Really hot.
Humid.
So we had decided after that we were going to do it in the spring of 2020. So it was planned for, I want to say April. It could have been May. I don't know. It's probably on our Facebook page. But I've sort of just put all that out of my mind for now. But it was supposed to be coming up or happened already.
Right.
And so we decided in all of this pandemic stuff that we were thinking initially we were going to postpone it to the fall. But as we've sort of gone through April and seen, how serious this really is, and health and safety is obviously the most important. And we're, living in limbo is really, really hard. And we had a lot of events on the calendar for this year. So we just had to make a decision on certain events that we were just going to, not do in 2020. And that was one of them. So we decided that we're going to push it out to the spring, which is our original idea for 2021. If for some amazing reason the state opens up tomorrow, I would love to try to get that off the ground for the fall before it gets too cool to walk around outside. But gosh, that was so much fun last year.
I was really looking forward to it because I knew that I could get a whole bunch of my friends to come out.
Yes.
Get some thrift store old wedding dresses, or even
I wore my wedding dress.
Did you really?
Yeah, that's my wedding dress.
Wait, is that you in that picture?
Yeah, the first one on the left is me.
That's you?
Yes.
Can you make that bigger?
I am sporting 1991 like it's nobody's business.
Oh, no way. Oh, look at those shoulders.
Yeah, so funny story. One of my good friends at a bridal shop, maybe I shouldn't say the name, but it's not a big deal. She came up to me after that and she was like, I saw those pictures of you at the bridal crawl. Where did you find that hideous dress from 1990?
No.
I was like, well, that was mine. I pulled it out of the box, out of the whole preservation thing I did.
Yeah.
Pulled it out, put it on.
Oh,
that was,
yikes.
Yeah.
That's like foot and mouth bad, but I'm digging it. I like it.
No, it was fun. It was all good. It was super funny. We had a huge laugh about it. But yeah, that was my wedding dress.
That's so cool. I love that. I think that would be such a fun event. You guys have to put it on once we can go out and be normal.
Side story. Me, Camilla, and Emily did a trial run for the bar crawl because we were trying to determine how long at each bar and where check-in was going to be and just all the logistics of it. Right. So we decided we were going to go downtown one afternoon and we were going to go what we had already planned out the route to be, and we knew what the time frame was going to be. So we were trying to figure out how long at each bar that we needed to be before we'd move on to the next one and get a drink and have it at that bar and then move on to the next one. That turned out to be a crazy night. I mean, we went to every bar and had a drink, and then first bar was 1 drink, second bar was 2 drinks, third bar was let's have a couple shots. I had told Dom, we're just doing a test run for it. I'll be done at 8. At 11, I'm like, come to Coughlin's, come get me.
I mean, you were just actively participating in the test for the bride call.
It was market research.
Yeah. And that's what would happen.
Totally.
I mean, you start off with 1 drink per place and then they turn into Jaeger bombs or something.
Yeah. It was great. It was good. I can't wait to do that event again. That was so much fun.
I can't wait either. I think it's going to be so much fun. I'm going to try to get my 4 friends to come do it.
I think Emily had her mother's wedding dress on in that picture.
So you have you, Emily, Jackie, Camellia, and then who are the 2 girls behind you?
The one girl we just kind of put some feelers out on Facebook and asked some girls if they wanted to participate with the photo shoot because we did a promo shoot.
Oh, cool.
So that's a picture from the promo photo shoot. So that's one of the models. And then Hillary is she's a wedding planner in our building. So she's bringing up the rear right there.
That's cool. That's a great picture too. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. I know that there's a lot of things that
there's so many things we can do with that.
I know. I know. But it'll come back.
It will.
And I mean, I don't know what the rules around something like that is. I guess it's just whatever downtown opens up again, right? Like,
oh, you mean the bars and stuff?
Well, to put on a bridal crawl, I don't know if there's anything that like extra that has to go into that.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, we'll get there slowly but surely. I know there are some states opening up, so if everybody can stay at home and do what they are supposed to be doing, then we'll be good. But my biggest fear is that things will start opening up and people would I hear things about people like protesting the fact that we're still closed, and I understand that it's frustrating and it's hard on businesses and things like that, but phase 1 and phase 2 doesn't happen until the data comes in from what happened during phase 1. So if people start protesting and everybody's having these mass gatherings and now the cases spike back up, phase 2 is not going to happen.
Or standing in line to get in TJ Maxx.
Yes, that blew my mind.
Trust me, I want to be there more than anybody, but what do you need?
Where are you going? What are you buying? sorry TJ Maxx. Right, like what the hell are you buying right now? But I'm like, I saw a story about the woman who put on the protest to like open back up North Carolina apparently got COVID. I was like, duh.
I think she had it. She wasn't okay. I read that article. I think she had it before the protest and wasn't at the protest, but that is kind of some weird irony right there.
But it goes back to my point, like this is all going to be dependent on how many people have cases of it. So if everybody is, I mean, I had a debate with a friend of mine because we were talking about how there might be this potential riot over this thing that happened, but that's a whole nother conversation. And I'm like, do you not realize like what that actually means, like on a mass scale, like all these mass gatherings, like just stay at home. And like I know you're not a mask wearer, but
I didn't say that.
Right? No, you are in public.
I haven't really left the house.
Fair. I mean, that's my thing too, is I haven't gone anywhere except, well, I did travel a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. But the point is that they're important, and it's not gonna, I think people just think like, oh, it's not gonna keep me from getting it, which is true, but it could lessen the spread of it, which is what's important.
Well, I think the intention is that it's for the other people that don't get your germs, whether you have them to spread or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's these times are not easy for anybody. I mean, the conversations and these dumb argument that came up over this stupid rock lamp, my mom and I got a huge argument over over the original rock lamp that was in the other episode. Long story short, I stole her rock lamp and she was not having it, so I bought a rock lamp that was twice the size of her rock lamp. But I don't think that conversation would even be up for debate if both of us weren't stir crazy right now.
Right.
I mean, for you work with your husband, you're working from home. How has that been?
It's had its ups and downs. I mean, fortunately for me, Dom is very, I don't want to say anti-technology, but he's not going to do it if he doesn't have to. So he would rather come here to the office and sit at his computer. He's on a PC. Everything's all plugged in and wired and whatnot. He doesn't get email on his phone. He doesn't get anything on his phone. So he's one of those people at 5 o'clock, the day is over. I log out of my computer and I go home. And I'm exactly the opposite. I have a laptop. I have everything on my phone. I can do it all on my phone. So I can work wherever I want. So the good news is when I get annoyed, I just say go to the office. Right. Because we're sharing my Mac and my laptop. So, when we're both kind of in the room and we're both kind of talking and we're kind of doing stuff. And I like having him there to collaborate. I mean, it's fun. It's not fun, but it's definitely helpful to have him to collaborate. But on those days when I'm just like, can you just go to the office and work from there?
Right. What advice would you have for couples that are not fortunate enough to have an office to send their husband away to, or
Well,
boyfriend or girlfriend, or
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because Dom and I are married and we run the business together. So we work together. I would imagine most people have separate jobs. So they don't have to discuss business. They might want to tell each other how their day was or what their business is about, but they're not running a business together. So we're kind of in that unique situation, is that we're running the business together. So, you know, lunch conversation is about work. Dinner conversation is about work. We're trying to sit down and watch TV at night. That's about the business. Hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you see this post on Facebook? It just doesn't ever stop. That's our problem. And it was like that before COVID. So that's always been challenging for us.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult, because I mean, not being able to, or how do you turn it off, right? Like, even if you made the rule, I know this would be how I would be. If you made the rule, okay, if we're not at the office, we're not talking about work. But that's not realistic.
It's not realistic. I'll tell you when we realize that we've done too much is when my kids start saying, will you stop talking about bridal shows? Or they'll say something like, just order the purple pens instead of the white pens. I'm like, then I know they've been listening to too many conversations.
Right.
About
They're hearing
stuff.
it too much, and it's driving them nuts.
Yeah.
So you know that it's time to change
Well,
it.
I mean, fortunately,
Fair.
they're all in, you know, they're all adults by age. So, you know, they have a very strong opinion about it.
I get that, though. I mean, if I were them and you're hearing the same thing over and over again, I mean, plus I'm sure kids usually just probably don't want to listen to what their parents have to talk about. So then for it to be work related and then bridal related, they probably could care less about.
Right.
It's not, so, you know, they're not talking about, I don't know. I can't even think of anything cool.
No, they're not entertained at all. My son works in video game design, so
Oh, yeah?
he could
That's cool.
not care anything about wedding stuff.
All right. What video games?
I don't know if I can say because he's under an NDA.
Oh, maybe
But
not. Then.
he works for an agency, a local agency, and they get outsourced by Epic and Treyarch and some of the other big companies to do work on assets for video games.
Cool.
I guess that's probably all I can say.
Yeah, I know that Epic is big in this area, so I kind of assumed that's who it was. But that's
But he works for more of a boutique agency that gets outsourced.
Interesting. I didn't know that was like a thing. But
yeah, which is really interesting to me because companies like Epic, they're huge and they have huge art departments and art leads. So why are they? I mean, I'm grateful that they're outsourcing because that's how my son has a job. Mm-hmm. But then what are their art people doing?
Great question.
Exactly.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe, granted, this is total speculation because I have no idea. So if I am offending the gaming community, I am so sorry. But I would just think maybe they're trying to release like a new map or something, and it's they're I think about our dev team, right? And like they have a course of here's a perfect example. I'm not even going to talk about the gaming industry because I don't want to offend anybody. But we're redesigning the website, right? Mm-hmm. And we're redesigning the skin of the app. But I can't have my normal team do that because we have 1,000 other things that they have to do that's a priority. So we have to outsource it to another team. So I guess it could be something like that.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Right? I mean, it's logical.
Yeah. It's logical, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think why they would outsource. But I think that could be it. It's like it's not on the normal schedule.
Right.
But it has to get done.
Right.
So we find contracted people to do it. Mm-hmm. I could be completely wrong. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't tell me too much about what he does because he's just not a talkative guy. But yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I think it sounds
good.
Good enough, right? Yeah, okay, that's fair. Well, that's cool though. I mean, I don't game too hard, but I used to. There was this one game, Elder Scrolls. Oh god.
Oh yeah, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh, I hate even talking about it. I feel like it makes me seem really lame, but I was so addicted to it. Like 4 a.m. playing this stupid game, but it was so great. Anyway, we'll talk about something. I feel like this is so not wedding related at all. Oh man. All right, so let's go back. Let's see. We talked about insurance, how important that is. Mm-hmm. We talked about rebookings with brides and couples. What are you seeing from the vendor side? I mean, have you had those conversations with them on what they're doing to pivot, right? Like, you can't, if you're a venue, you can't host people. If you're a photographer, you can't go out on these shoots. What are they doing to stay afloat and to think about the next phase?
Well, I know that right now a lot of people are doing consultations for future weddings and trying to book new business. They're trying to navigate through the existing weddings that they have on the books coming up as best as they can, and just, trying to reinvent themselves. I've seen, some funny ideas and some cute things on Facebook and Instagram, but for the most part, it's put our industry to a halt. It's been really hard. A lot of these people, it's not only what they do, it's what they live for. So when they're, I was talking to some DJs today, when they can't get in the club, because a lot of them do club DJing when they're not doing events. So if they can't be in the club doing what they do or doing an event, it's like, it's just heartbreaking, because they're a DJ and they live for the music and all of that. And same with photography and catering and all of the industry, or all of the categories within the industry. So it has definitely been challenging.
Right, because it's not only a business, but it's like a passion of theirs.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
you can't do it.
Yeah.
So what do you do in the meantime?
Yeah.
And what about the couples? I mean, if you don't know when this date is there anything that they can plan that's not date specific? And I'm purely asking from curiosity. I really can't think of anything.
What do you mean, like date specific?
Well, if I don't know when my wedding date is, what can I plan? There's got to be something, right? I mean,
you mean girls who are getting married later, or like who are engaged right now but haven't set a date?
Right. Or if I started to plan and I just don't know when I can push it to, right? If we're still early on in the process, we thought we were going to get married in November, December. We wanted a winter wedding, and now it's like, well, I don't know if I feel confident about that anymore. I mean, how far, if I was a bride coming to you, would you say, hey, you might want to push it to this date? If you know, you might not.
I mean, my best guess would be to shoot for 2021.
Yeah.
I don't think personally I would feel comfortable trying to pull a wedding off in 2020 on a large scale, like a huge guest list. Mm-hmm. And that's just my gut. I don't have any real facts to back that up. That's just my gut.
I can't even imagine what kind of...
Yeah. But if I was engaged and I was planning a wedding and I was thinking, okay, well, I really wanted a winter wedding and I really don't know. If you have any thing that's telling you, like, I don't know what the winter might look like, just either, forget your plans for a winter wedding, because you probably don't want to wait a year and do it at the winter of 2021, like next year. Like if you wanted a Thanksgiving themed or a winter wedding or a New Year's Eve wedding, if you want that for this year and you have any reservation, I would listen to your gut and I would just either move it to that time next year, or if you don't want to wait that long, then I would plan a wedding sooner. Or I would just go ahead and do the ceremony if you want to get married, and plan a reception for a later time. We just talked to a couple Tuesday, I think, that did that very thing. They had a spring wedding. They actually had like a May wedding planned. And right when the state shut everything down, the venue called them and said, no, we're done. So they moved it to August, but they did not want to wait to get married. So they had a very small ceremony in their mom's backyard with just the parents and the immediate siblings of the bride and groom, and they got married. And they're still going to have their reception where they can include their friends and their family and everybody else, and they're just going to do it later. And at first, when we talked to them, they said that a lot of people were like, or they were just like, oh yeah, we'll do the ceremony now and we'll party later. But they said they had a lot of pushback from some of their family and friends, like, but we wanted to be part of the ceremony. We wanted to be there for the special emotional part. So they are going to do some things at the reception that they have moved to August to kind of acknowledge that. I know they had a lot of nieces and nephews that were going to be part of the wedding, and they didn't include that in the intimate ceremony that they did. So they are going to do some things to include those people, so they don't feel like they already did the ceremony and they're just going to have a party. They're going to make it special, even though they're not going to do the ceremony again.
Yeah, that's a great idea, though. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be the whole ceremony, but to do something, because it is important for, I mean, as you're talking, I started thinking, I was like, well, it's really more about them and like their relationship, and the marriage is celebrating their love. But I get that, because I'm sure that
but you want to share that with everybody,
with the people you love and that love you. It's not I don't think it's coming from a place of selfishness. I think it's just that they want to be a part of it because they love you. So
one cool thing that they did that I thought was really cool, or not one cool thing that they did, but just a result of what's happening, is that they put it out on Facebook, like did a Zoom thing. Right. So there were people that weren't even on their guest list that, you know, maybe childhood friends, or, you know, your friend list on Facebook is a bunch of people you probably don't even still keep up with. But they said they had so many people tune in to the ceremony that would have never even been a part of the wedding if it had even happened. And probably won't be coming to the reception when they do it in August. So they said a lot of people were able to share that with them because of this situation and because it was broadcast on Facebook. So
yeah, I think that's going to definitely become a trend. I mean, people weren't posting weddings on Zoom before this because I don't think it was top of mind for anybody. But I think with how many more people have been exposed to the virtual meetings, that'll probably be more popular. Yeah, it's a good alternative for if you have family that can't make it, or friends, or random people on Facebook, I guess,
who have nothing else to do.
Right, they're just bored because they can't go outside, so they're like, well, sure, I'll watch this person that I had one class in middle school with get married. Why not? You know, I mean, it's not hurting anybody, so I mean, why not? That's cool. So cool. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would advise couples that are, you know, they're going through this challenging time? And for me, you know, going back to the wedding shows a little bit, I think that's such an experience that I would definitely recommend that every couple go to, because I think that's the whole planning process. And I mean, the event lasts so much less time than the whole time you spend planning it. And I think that going to the shows is one of the fun parts of planning. So for a couple that they either can't attend because cancellations, or you know, they're just going through this kind of hard time, is there any piece of advice that you'd give them?
Well, I always say that planning a wedding is a job.
Yeah,
it's your full-time job for as long as it takes you to plan the wedding. We have this little saying in our office that, you know, you're about to spend more money than you've ever spent on things you've never heard of, from people you've never purchased from. And you know, who do you trust? Where do you go? Where do you start that process? I would embrace every moment of everything through the entire process, whether it got canceled or postponed or rescheduled, or you decided to have a small ceremony and a reception later. Whatever the case may be, I would just take this opportunity to embrace every aspect of it. I'm a super sentimental person, so I'm kind of taking my own advice with my son at home, who's a high school senior. It's just like, okay, well, you know, it is what it is. But that isn't going to stop me from, you know, memorializing everything that's surrounding it. You know, we'll make the best of it, but I'm going to take advantage of everything that is surrounding it, because someday he's probably going to look back and his kids are going to be like, oh my God, you were in high school when this virus happened. And it's going to be the same thing for couples. So, you know, you just, you know, you can be unhappy, and everyone deserves that moment to be unhappy and just feel like, wow, we just got screwed, you know, with this whole situation. But, you know, find your place in history and just make the best of it, and do what you feel is the right thing to do that's safe and healthy for everybody, and make it part of your story.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. And hopefully we'll have the show coming up in August, Forever Bridal, at the fairgrounds. And there is one thing that I do want to hit on too before we wrap up here. You know, for a bride, if I'm going in, and I know that, I mean, and just myself doing research on the different shows that are across the country, it's really difficult to decipher who is the legitimate show in the area versus who is not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. There's so many that, I mean, if I look up Raleigh Bridal Show, a few will come up, and I know Forever Bridal is the legitimate show at the Raleigh Fairgrounds.
Right.
How do you know what's real and what's not? Because no bride thinks that there are not legitimate shows out there, but there are.
Yes. That's something that we've, thought about for 25 years, that we work towards. There's a lot of things that need to be thought about from the vendor's perspective and from the bride's perspective. So, it's, gosh, if a show doesn't have an advertising budget to, advertise the show, then you have to wonder how are brides going to be there from the vendor's perspective. Okay. If you can get a really cheap booth at an event, but they have no money to advertise, how are the brides going to get there, and how are they going to know about it? Something else that's really common in our community is calling something a bridal show, and it's really an open house. If you're just featuring your property or your place of business or your service or product that you offer, and you want to gather a few other people around with you, that's not really a bridal show or a wedding show or an expo. That's more of an open house or kind of a collaborative effort to promote products and services. So that terminology is really important. And just where it's being held. We don't have a lot of options here in Raleigh. We have our convention center and we have the fairgrounds, which are the biggest properties around. There are hotels and they do have large ballrooms, but the biggest properties that host the biggest trade shows are going to be your convention center or the fairgrounds. So that's something to take into consideration too. If you're looking for lots of choices and to meet a lot of people, from the vendor's perspective and the bride's perspective, you're going to want to look for shows that are taking place, and definitely you want to look at how long they've been in business and what kind of audience they typically attract and their websites and so forth. So something to be aware of.
Absolutely. So on that note, Laura, Forever Bridal, thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Hopefully we have the August show and our bridal bar crawl to attend soon. If not, the next show is when, October?
Yes, it would be. That's more of our boutique show in October, and we're looking at plans for that too. But we're praying for August.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. I think we'll get there. I think, positive vibes. You got to keep it positive vibes. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Anytime.
That's a wrap. We're running out of time.